Burp.
Wow, that was very authentic.
Welcome to the most depressing podcast in America.
Is it?
The fake burp edition.
Oh my gosh. This is the most depressing podcast in America. Running out the clock. We've always been known as that. We will always be known as such. I'm your host, the always handsome Joseph Craven. I'm joined... Durbin Kerbin. I'm joined, of course, by Big Boss, Big Red, Keith Harkins. The always handsome Big Boss, Big Red, Keith Harkins. And the always...
You know how to make a lady feel special.
Mm-hmm. Tell that to my wife. And to, of course, the always handsome, the Hunter of Rose.
Back with us for a brand new edition.
Yeah, exactly. He's actually back.
I am. And also, if you weren't aware that what you're saying about Hunter of Rose, Roe is the formal English saying of a deer, specifically a female deer.
Yeah, I remember the song Roe, a rear, a rail, rear.
Just a heads up, the connection here is very spotty, so I may drop in and out.
Yeah, Keith joining us. Keith broadcasting live from a Nashville hotel room.
On location from the Titans' victory today over the New England Patriots.
We're joined by my numbers game co-host, Puppy Radar O'Reilly. She is sitting on the bed behind me, chowing down on a pig ear.
ROTC numbers intern.
Chandler Rowland, our normal fourth member of the squad, unable to join us tonight. And we do, of course, want to give a quick statement here. Our longtime ROTC intern, Chandler's golden retriever Trapper, passed away this past week. I think Chandler's had that dog for like a decade at least or something, long time.
Long time.
And if I remember correctly, Chandler can correct me on this, but I believe the story was that he was going to pick up a puppy from the litter, wandered up to like wherever they were, and like the entire litter of these little golden puppies came running up to him, except for one dog that sat in like a mud puddle nearby, just wallowing around and having the time of his life. And Chandler went, "That's the one, right over there." And so, dogs are part of the family, and we hate to hear that about that loss. But thankful for all the years of service that Trapper gave us as an intern here on Running Out the Clock as well. But no, we are very sad. So we will drown our sorrows by talking about our least favorite sport in the universe, college football. Woo! Okay, this is what was that? Week 11. Week 11 in the books. Wow, man, we are almost done with everything this year as far as the regular season goes.
This is really weird.
It's speeding along. It's just speeding along. It's crazy. Let's just start things off the way that we always do, and that, of course, is by talking about the Noles. Second week in a row that somebody destroyed them, and it's kind of looking like when they go up against their third straight their fourth straight ranked opponent this next week in Boston College. So just answer quickly, gentlemen. Keith, is the misery going to end for the Noles?
It's never going to end.
Ro?
This is the new normal.
This is it. Ro?
How do you like them apples? Huh?
Ooh.
Eh?
It is Baston. And you know what?
Huh?
You know what the best part of my day is? It's when I get here. It's before the Noles get here. And I'm just kind of hoping that they won't show up because they got smart and moved on. It's the best part of my day. It's that time before. I don't remember the quote, but that's Goodwill Hunting as well. Goodwill effing Hunting.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're facing a Doug Flutie-less Boston College this weekend. So I don't know. Boston College is very bad. They're not great. So
they're also ranked 17th in the country, which is the weird
Boston
thing.
College has been doing really well.
Or no,
I was absolutely making all of that up. I have no. Yeah. Why would I follow Boston College ever?
Actually, they've dropped to 22nd. What I was just looking at did not have the updated AP poll as of today. They are 22nd in the AP and in the coaches bowl. So there you go.
There
Look
you
at
go.
that. Look at that. The
That's what
fighting,
happens when you go on the road and lose to Clemson.
the fighting Steven Dazias.
Yeah. I literally did not know how well they were doing until game day yesterday, and then I was like, "Oh, look, Boston College is ranked."
Mhm.
Steven Dazio is still there. So
Just low
good-
key.
good
Just low key doing that. Very
hanging
interesting.
out. Just hanging out.
Yep. Another thing we like to do at the beginning of the podcast is maybe give some credit to someone in the sports world that isn't maybe getting enough credit for what they did. Keith, do you have any nominees here? Anyone in mind?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw the state fans a bone here. Not because I'm feeling pity or anything, but I mean, you held Alabama to 3 second half points. It's pretty good. Anyway, Willie Gay Jr. had a hell of a game for that Bulldog defense. 9
He's had himself a
tackles,
season. He's had himself a season.
6 of which were solo tackles, 2 sacks and 2 tackles for loss. He was easily state's most visible defensive player, which is a really tough go when you're playing on the same side of the ball as Jeffrey Simmons and Montez Sweat. But he found a way to do it. Good for him. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a good game, and the defense as a whole definitely showed out in that one. Cam Dantzler, their star cornerback, having an interestingly proficient blitzing game, which was the strangest thing, I think. But yeah, the unsung linebackers and defensive backs for Mississippi State really showed up quite a bit there. Ro, you got anyone in mind that you need to give some credit to?
I'd like to give credit to Lamar Jackson for salvaging Bobby Petrino's years post Arkansas, as he today was just fired. Literally, I think maybe like
Lamar Jackson was fired.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, Bobby Petrino. I don't know if I clarified that.
Breaking news: Lamar Jackson fired at Louisville.
Bobby Petrino not yet again looking for a job. So shout out to Lamar.
He goes back to the Atlanta Falcons.
I don't think that he left in the greatest of terms, so probably not.
Okay. Atlanta Falcons, of course, losing to a powerhouse Cleveland Browns team today.
Hey, I will say, last I checked my fantasy team, that's 0-9 now. Well, I had a shot at beating Brett Clifton, who was projected to score 174 points. So second shout out to my fantasy football team for being god awful. So thank you.
Well, it's okay. I am getting absolutely dumpstered in my game. So I'm about to get my first loss of the year.
I'm really pleased then, Keith. That's wonderful that you couldn't, have a terrible
Everybody
game.
feel pity for me.
You couldn't have a terrible game last week when you and I were matched up against each other. No, it had to wait one more week.
Well, it's really funny because, for a minute there, I was supposed to lose because Kirk Cousins imploded like a dying star on the field, and then something weird happened. And suddenly, I won for no reason whatsoever because, Deion Lewis had a good game for you, and then whatever.
Yeah, there were a lot of players for me that did not have a good game. So that's really what it came down to. So thank you for that. I'm going to give a little bit of credit. I'm going to give credit to 2 different people real quick to make up for the fact that we are missing one of our cast members here. And in particular, I'm going to very specifically, this would be Chandler's pick, I think, if he were here. Ole Miss wide receiver A.J. Brown became Ole Miss's all-time leading receiver this season, this past weekend. He broke Shea Hodges' career receiving mark of 2,646 yards. And, of course, it's very interesting that he was able to do this in 2.5 seasons, basically. Really just like last year and this year, especially considering last season as a sophomore, Brown racked up 1,252 yards. So shout out to him for that. And I do want to say that, I try to put rivalry stuff aside whenever I can on here to be professional. but AJ Brown is one of my least favorite human beings on earth. Okay. Along with that, the guy that I really, really want to give a huge shout out to is Malik Honeycutt of Murray State University, the Racers.
Ooh.
Murray State was down 38-34 against number 19 Southeast Missouri State. This is FCS. I had to say that correctly. There were, let's see, how much time was left? It doesn't tell me what time it was. That's awesome. Thanks. All right, 5 seconds left or something like that. And Honeycutt took a squib kick from the kickoff after Southeast Missouri State got some points to take the lead, and ran it 79 yards at the end of the game to win the game for Murray State. He took a 79-yard kickoff return to defeat the number 19 team in the country 40-38. So shout out to Malik Honeycutt and Murray State for pulling off the upset in an incredibly dramatic and entertaining fashion. It was Murray State had to rally from 31 points down, the largest comeback in Murray State program history,
Wow.
and capped it off with a 79-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. So shout out to Honeycutt and the Racers for that one right there. All right, let's look at the scores from last week. A quick run through of all of these. And while we're at it, we'll go ahead and mention how we landed in terms of predictions. Let's see. South Carolina forgot that there was a second half of football. Florida took advantage to win 35-31. Vanderbilt also forgot to finish a football game. Missouri took advantage 33-28.
I can't get past that noise.
Can we hear it one more time, Keith? That's Keith doing his best impression of a thwomp from Super Mario.
Oh my God!
See, Texas A&M was able to run away at the very end from Ole Miss 38-24. I mean, that literally, like, the game-sealing touchdown was like a 40-yard run from Javion Williams. Number 1 Alabama defeated Mississippi State by an adjusted final score of 17-7. It was 24-0 is the official score.
Adjusted for inflation.
Adjusted for obvious errors. Tennessee upset Kentucky 24-7 in what might be the most dominant 24-7 performance that you could see. Maybe the only other, like, moderate, not quite a huge blowout, but still moderate victory that could be more one-sided was Georgia handling Auburn 27-10 this past weekend. And then LSU and Arkansas playing a classic LSU and Arkansas, why is this a close game sort of game. LSU winning 24-17 against the Razorbacks to hold on to the Golden Boot.
Arkansas just randomly scoring 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Yep. Why not? Arkansas also had an awesome highlight in that game where they were trying to run a pitch sweep and a wide receiver was cutting across. Mm-hmm. And the quarterback was going to hike the ball and then just lightly underhand toss it to the receiver as he's running by. But the receiver ran by right as the ball was hiked, and the running back decided that was the play he was supposed to run up in front of the quarterback. So the running back and wide receiver ran into each other as the quarterback's trying to pitch him the ball. They fell to the ground, lost yardage. This is notable because last year when Arkansas and LSU played, the same thing happened.
Oh, my God.
The exact same thing happened.
Come on, Chad.
Yeah.
Chad.
They ran a little sweep. He tossed it to the wide receiver. The wide receiver got it. The difference here is that an offensive lineman, while trying to, like, hedge block an LSU defensive lineman, tossed the defensive lineman directly into the backfield. The wide receiver panicked. The wide receiver and the offensive lineman ran into each other.
Well, I mean, that's what you get for trimming the hedges that late at night.
That's a metaphor that I didn't understand, so I just laughed at it. As well, our two random predictions from last weekend. Well, not random. We always predict the Noles. We all got it correct that Florida State would lose to Notre Dame. This is an interesting one. I had to look this up to see what happened. Our random prediction was the University of Ohio Bobcats versus the Red Hawks of Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio pulled that game out, but the Bobcats really cut it close. It was 21-7 at the is that correct? 21? No, I'm sorry. It was 28-7. There we go. At halftime, the Bobcats able to score 21 points in the second half. However, the Red Hawks got a safety.
Ugh.
Miami of Ohio got a safety, and that was the deciding points.
Ugh.
Yeah, I need to look up the box score of this game to figure out exactly how this happened because I'm very curious. But that was it. It was tied at 20. It would have been tied at 28 except for, a safety. Anyway.
Except for sadness.
So I just noticed this. We all got a lot of things correct as far as predictions go. But somehow I picked all 9 games correctly.
Somebody was perfect.
Yeah. Is that the first time all year that one of us has predicted perfectly? Or I feel like, Keith, you did that at some point.
I think I did like week 4 or 5 or something. I don't know. It was pretty early.
I'm looking at it. It was one of the ones that gave you.
Yeah, it was week 5.
Week 5. You got it right. So
I got Kentucky right when nobody else did.
Kentucky. Yeah, I keep typing Kentucky a lot. It's a problem.
No. That's the name of the state now.
All right, the Kentucky Wildcats.
Rock Rats.
Rock Rats.
But yeah, for the most part, a lot of us got just about everything right. I happen to be the only person that predicted Tennessee, and Keith happened to be the only person that predicted Ohio to beat Miami of Ohio.
Womp womp.
So with that, Keith's still in the lead, 91 correct predictions. I'm somehow in second with 87, but then Rose right behind with 86 and Chandler right behind with 85. So it's all
Not
close.
last. Woo.
Not last. That's my favorite cheer. All right. As mentioned, let's talk a little bit about a few of the games that happened because this is going to be the saddest podcast we record because this will be our Alabama special, which conveniently is also the least interesting move in the Kama Sutra, the Alabama special.
It's also the name of every podcast we do.
That was an excellent joke.
Thank you.
That's what happens when Bama plays. It's all about that.
The Alabama special.
The Alabama special. All right, so
which is just everyone laying around talking about the
Alabama. You don't talk about no Alabama.
So we will be talking about Alabama in this episode because it's not super interesting to talk about a team that wins by like 40 points every time. But because of that, and because for the most part, mostly because we haven't talked about them significantly all season because of that. So we need to go ahead and address it now after this past weekend. And then we're also going to, maybe throw our tinfoil hats on just a little bit and talk about some conspiracies in the.
I'm so ready for this.
Yeah. But first and foremost, we do need to talk about there's 4 matchups in particular that at least need just a little hint of discussion, or not really discussion, but at least some statements. One of those being Missouri being able to pull it off against Vanderbilt. This was an interesting game. As noted, Vanderbilt was up. Let's see. They were up 21-10 in the second quarter. A Missouri field goal as time expired cut it to 21-13. But then in the second half, Missouri able to just kind of chip away until finally they got a fourth quarter touchdown and held the lead for the last 9 minutes. What are we seeing out of Missouri right now? I'm going to throw this one over to Keith.
Ba, 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 ba.
I mean, do you think this is something that says more about Missouri's resilience or just that Vanderbilt is Vanderbilt?
I I'm going to say more about Missouri, just because they're proving every week that some of their losses were obviously really tough, but that they're just a better team than I think that everybody thought when just looking at their record. Because looking at someone's record without a whole lot of context is always going to be sort of a dangerous thing. And two of their losses came by a combined 30 points, or 3 points, something like that. So, Drew Lock had sort of a tough day, but he did what he needed to do. And Demary Crockett is showing that he's a legit, number one running back. Nothing super fancy. They just took care of business, and they had kind of a workmanlike attitude. And they, focused and were able to take advantage a little bit of maybe sort of like a tired Vandy team. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird because you look at it and both teams just seem to do well.
Yeah.
Like Locke went for 253, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's like the biggest knock there. But
yeah,
Crockett 122 yards, Roundtree 92 yards. I mean, the running back tandem is just solid. And on the other side, Keyshawn Vaughn almost 200 yards rushing. Kyle Shermer 3 passing touchdowns.
Yeah. Keyshawn Vaughn is the truth, man.
Mm-hmm. He really is. He is heck of fun to watch.
182 yards on 15 carries. That's stupid.
Yeah, that's gross, dude.
Granted, one of those was an inflation. I mean, he had that one 65-yard run or whatever. But
yeah.
But still, he's hella good.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. Whole lot of fun. As mentioned, Tennessee was able to pull off a victory against Kentucky, which I'll be honest, I didn't predict because I believed in Tennessee. I predicted that because traditionally, I don't pick Kentucky in the second half of the season.
Yep. It's just weird because they got to 7 wins before the collapse imploded.
I know. It's like they're getting a little bit better every year, just getting a little
bowl eligible +1, then we shut it down.
Yep.
Next year, 8 wins.
Tennessee was pitching a shutout until the third quarter. It was 17-0 at halftime. In fact, it was 24-0 at one point. And Kentucky's only touchdown came with 2 minutes left. So Tennessee almost had the entire shutout here. Ro, how about those Tennessee Volunteers? They seem to be the most improved team in the conference by a long shot.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't watch this game at all.
No one did.
My first reaction to this, just watching UT and Kentucky, and on the note of Missouri and whoever they played a minute ago.
Vanderbilt. Keith is recording from their stadium right now.
Mm-hmm. I am inside of the vortex.
Inside of the vortex. All of these games that we're talking about right now, they really don't matter at all in any kind of
here we go
semblance of anything, because not all of they're playing for the second fiddle from here on out. The NCAA has made its bed with Alabama, just for whatever reason, because of dynasty, because of money. There is no getting past Alabama this year or next year, or until Nick Saban peacefully goes off into the sunset as his contract he signed with Lucifer expires. It just doesn't matter. So I know people care about it, and I know that we like to watch competition, but in the grand scheme of things, if you can lower your expectations, Tennessee fans, that you are going to be a middle of the road, maybe every now and then a 9-win team, you're going to be satisfied, because you're not going to get past Georgia ever. Florida's creeping up on that one too. Those two, I'm still up for debate on where that conspiracy falls. We'll see. But in the West and in overall, it's Alabama from here on out. So those are my only comments. The other comment that I would make, that what we're noticing across the board is that it is cold outside, and therefore numbers at stadiums have now taken a dive, and people have come to realize that it's a lot nicer to watch football games at home indoors as opposed to outside in cold weather. I had a friend who was at the Notre Dame Florida State game this weekend for his first trip up to South Bend, and it was 20 degrees outside with a wind chill of -10. That's a little exaggeration. It wasn't -10, but he said that it felt like it, and he looked like he had just a crazy rosacea breakout all over his face, but he didn't. He was just that cold. So back to you guys. That's all I have to say. Nick Saban is a lizard person. All right, go ahead.
Keith, talk a little bit about Florida coming back against South Carolina, I guess, because it seems like we're going to very rapidly get into the second half of the program.
Anyway, so Alabama. No. So real quick, we were watching the Mississippi State-Alabama game, and somebody was like, hey, let's see what's happening at Tennessee and Kentucky. So we switched over, and it was the most boring 10 minutes of everyone's life. So we made the decision to watch the travesty game over the boring game. So just to let you know just how awful it is to watch Kentucky and Tennessee play football, period, much less against each other. So Florida, South Carolina was weird and dumb, and I hate football. Florida comes back from a from a 2-score deficit twice, once 14-0, and then again they were down by 17 going into the fourth quarter, and scored 21 points unanswered to end the game. South Carolina forgot what it was like to play football on the defensive left side of the field. So Florida just kind of struggled to Jordan Scarlett and LaMichael Piron a lot and scored 21 points. And maybe the most interesting thing that happened in a game where Florida suddenly, or usually anemic offense, suddenly burst to life is Felipe Franks shushing his own crowd and then yelling at them to shut the F up. So it's been a frustrating last for Felipe with the Florida fans.
We had Robo Keith for a second there. It was awesome.
I know. It's a Keith bot. Just
I'm telling you,
made
man,
itself known.
The connection at these comfort suites is not great.
Real solid. Solid.
But no, Franks has had a rough kind of couple of weeks, and with the Florida fan base sort of turning on him, and apparently not even the Florida fan base, former Florida quarterbacks are now turning on him.
Can you call Del Rio a former Florida quarterback? Like, I know he was there, but
he wore a jersey and throw a few passes, so I guess.
Yep. All right, we do need to take another moment here. Another sad, solemn moment in memory of a lost SEC member here this week. Well, if you ask my mother, they were never an SEC member, and she's still mad about it. But, of course, as mentioned, after last week, when it looked like maybe they had learned how to finish games, maybe they could save a little bit of what has been a disappointing season, the South Carolina Gamecocks decided, no, that's not worth it. It's not worth it. Winning is not worth it. Finishing games not worth it. And they decided, you know what? Third quarter is as long as we would like to play. Thank you, sir. We're done here. 31-14. That seems like a good victory. We can stop. So South Carolina actually made the strange decision, much like UAB a few years ago was forced to do, to shut down their football program in the middle of a game. So let's have a quick moment to all together here pay our respect. Press F to pay respects to the memory of South Carolina football, no longer with us. deciding to retire, to call it a career, after almost 30 years in the SEC. Gentlemen, I just want to give you an opportunity to maybe share your fondest South Carolina memory. Keith, would you like to start us off here?
I'll have to say that absolutely the fondest memory that I have of South Carolina football was the moment that they hired Will Muschamp and sealed their fates.
Yeah. I mean, nothing says it's time to wrap up this whole career like hiring Will Muschamp.
Nothing says more loudly to the fan base, we are ready to give up.
Come quickly, Lord Jesus.
Come quickly.
Ro, would you like to share any thoughts about South
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'll share my deepest, fondest memory of South Carolina. The year would have been about 1999 or 2000. I would have been about 13 or 14 years old. My dad took me and my brother to a trip to go watch the Bulldogs play. They were playing South Carolina in Columbia. Phenomenal game. Not too phenomenal, though, because South Carolina ended up winning that game. But I was introduced to a tradition unlike any other that I only thought existed in the movie, specifically Hook, where grown men would caw as the stadium all at once in one cohesion. This loud rooster call that was absolutely blood-curdling and awful. If you think a cowbell next to your head is pretty bad, no. You've never heard grown people crow like roosters at 5 a.m. when the sun comes up all day long. So thank you for that memory. Thank you for that laughter on the way home. I'll cherish you always, South Carolina, but good riddance.
There is truly nothing worse than the giant rooster noise that gets piped in over the PA system as well. Glad we won't deal with that anymore, as South Carolina has ceased to exist. I wish that I was closer friends with South Carolina football. I wish that I had more stories of times in which we were just hanging out with each other, times that maybe he gave me a ride when I needed a ride somewhere, but I don't. And truth be told, if there's anything that is memorable at all about South Carolina football, it is simply Jadeveon Clowney beheading a Michigan running back in a bowl game years ago. Just touching. Just a touching moment for all of us involved. As well, I don't know if I've ever actually met a South Carolina fan. I think I've met a lot of Clemson fans in my life. People from South Carolina that are big. I know people that are from South Carolina and are diehard fans of the Citadel. I cannot for the life of me think of a single South Carolina fan that I personally know. So, wait, you know what? I just thought of one guy, Ryan Cunningham. Shout out to you, Ryan.
I only know one as well. His name is Ernie Falkenberry. Shout out to him. I can't think of any others though. Just the one. Maybe that's what South Carolina is. Everybody knows just one.
Just
also,
one.
Everybody loves the South Carolina Gamecocks hats that just say Cox on it.
Yes. Frat boys since the mid-90s.
Yeah, movie theaters love wearing those hats.
Love them. Love them. So tonight we'll have a brief moment of silence as we pay respects to South Carolina football retiring after 126 seasons. This is for you, South Carolina football.
We will be holding a Texas A&M style bonfire / funeral pyre.
Believable.
Funeral pyre.
And
unbelievable.
Will Muschamp will light the fire with what he breathes from his mouth. The dragon, Will Muschamp.
Well, there goes that moment of silence. Thanks, Keith.
They don't deserve it.
Disrespectful, dude.
Disrespect to the Cox, Keith.
You can't disrespect the Cox, Keith. Can't do that.
Speaking of disrespecting things, of course, this weekend Alabama Mississippi State played.
I'm about to be so hateful right now.
in a game that was 24-0 on the official record. A quick look at things shows that there was at least a Mississippi State touchdown that should not have been called back that was due to a bogus call. So 24-7 is really what it should have been. Maybe 17-7 if you think that Damian Harris fumbled on the first drive of the game like it appeared he did, but it was not reviewed. There's a lot of that. Before we get into the conspiracy stuff, Ro, I'm sorry to hold you back a little bit longer, but we do need to –
Nice tease.
I know. We do need to – I mean, we need to pay respect to the Tide for what they've been able to do. We do need to pay respect to the fact that, I mean, they have been ever since Nick Saban got there and rebuilt the program from the fact that, honestly, like the 90s and the early 2000s were not good for them.
Not at all.
Yeah, you know, people seem to forget that, but they did have that down period after the Bear before Nick came and resurrected the program. But, I mean, you look at all that, what he's done is great. And what he's done is impressive because, I mean, you could put just – I know that Tua Tagovailoa is talented, but you could put just about anybody behind that offensive line. And with the running backs and receivers that they get, and the running backs especially, and tight ends and the defense, all that. And you can have – he just has built like a template for success, it feels like. Does that seem like a safe assessment there, Keith?
Yeah. So I was actually thinking what an interesting experiment it would be to swap like Tua and like Fitzgerald for like a season or 6 games or something like that, and just kind of see what kind of numbers Fitz would have with that offensive line. And like the wide receivers who can apparently catch balls, you know, and just kind of see how it goes. And that made me think exactly what you were just talking about. Like, you know, Tua is an amazingly gifted athlete and a quarterback, but you know, good coaches build systems to where you can plug in somebody and be successful. And that's what, you know, Saban's done. Not to knock like you know, McElroy and like those guys, because they were talented guys also, but you know, not very many quarterbacks that have come through Alabama in the last decade have been game breakers, and they've still won 1 million games.
I mean, John Parker Wilson and
Sims.
Yeah, Sims and the why'd I just draw a blank on the freaking Florida State transfer guy who?
Oh yeah.
What was that kid's name?
How am I drawing a blank?
Jameis Winston.
See,
Yeah.
this makes your point exactly. People that we forget even played quarterback came in and won national titles. Like,
Yep. And I mean, how many sacks has Alabama given up this season? You know, it was like none coming into the Mississippi State game.
Yeah, 2 Saturday.
Yeah, it's absurd how how stout that offensive line is, and then the defensive line on their side, they control the line of scrimmage. I mean, it's just, you have to give it. And here's the issue here, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong on this, you know, Ro or Keith or anybody, but here's the issue here is that it gets boring to try to even praise them for anything, to even try to give them credit for anything, because at the end of the day, it is like formulaic. Like, they're going to have a better offensive line than you. They're going to have massive running backs that just, for some reason, it seems like can fight for yardage better than any team I've ever seen. Like, slipperiest dudes in the world.
Yeah. Jacobs
slippery.
is a monster. Also, Tina Williams terrifies me.
Tina Williams.
I heard
Yeah.
Tina. Yeah, Tina.
No, Tina Williams.
Shout out to Tina being Keith's nightmare.
Yeah, no, I'm looking up Tina Williams to see who
She's a
that is.
sophomore.
Keith.
Tina Turner.
Keith Bot's back.
I see Tina Williams, MD, is a family practice physician in Norcross, Georgia.
That's her. Yep. Incredible
shout out to
defensive
her.
tackle.
Shout out to her. But Keenan Williams?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that how you say his name?
Quinnen Williams. Okay.
Quinnen. Okay.
Quinnen.
I feel like they were calling him Keenan Williams.
They might be. I mean, it's spelled Quinnen.
Yeah.
So that's why I was drawing a blank on it. I hadn't pronounced it as Keenan, but it might be.
Who knows?
Probably is Keenan Williams.
At this point, who cares?
Yeah, doesn't matter. Yeah, he's interesting. He's the new addition to the defensive line this year. Williams is at least. Bugs is the senior defensive end. Raekwon Davis, of course, the big junior. And who a lot of people are really, really high on. Yeah, I mean, they control the line of scrimmage. In a day and age where it's like spread offense, getting the air raid, Gardner Minshew at Washington State, flinging the ball 7,000 times a game, that sort of stuff. In a day and age in which that is how, what is done. Alabama adapts a little bit. I mean, they do run pass options, read option stuff now, but they still play by the mentality that's still true. If you control the line of scrimmage, you win games. That's kind of how it is. Ro, what's your assessment of the Tide before we jump into the controversy stuff?
What's my assessment of the Tide, like skill-wise?
I mean, just like in general, like they are the same team year in and year out. They're consistent in all of that, and they get a bunch of people, Yeah.
I have two answers.
Okay.
And the first one is that Nick Saban truly is like the best coach of all time, especially like in this day and age with all the craziness with social media and recruits and all that kind of stuff. The fact that he creates a program where there's such collective buy-in is pretty astounding, because every year it's a new breed, it's a different team every single year. And for every year, the attitude and the belief system at its core there, like whatever their mission statement is, it's the same every year with the same expectation, all that kind of stuff. So that's the first thing that I would say.
What do you think the mission statement for Alabama football even is? Because I'm just thinking about Nick Saban does not seem like a catchphrase type of guy. So It's probably like the mission statement that they have hanging up on the wall is like it's like 4 paragraphs, and he typed it in Microsoft Word on Times New Roman font, printed it out, and taped it to the wall. That's what they have in the locker room.
Yeah. So what do I think that their mission statement is?
Yeah. What do you think it would be?
# Hail Satan.
It's pronounced Saban.
Born on October 31st, of course.
God,
pagan gator ritual.
I think,
Classic.
I think their mission statement, honest to God, is to be the best. I mean, like they are, and all facets of the game, pretty much every year they are up there in terms of how you would build a team, and they live up to the hype. I mean, people were saying, I was listening to when I was in Atlanta last weekend. I actually watched the Big Ten, which I hardly ever watch because is right, and that game was It was Rutgers versus Wisconsin, and Wisconsin won, but not like you would think. And
watching Rutgers versus weird flex, but okay.
I know weird flex, but my brother-in-law went to Wisconsin, and he's a huge fan, so we were watching it. And during the halftime, they're talking about Alabama, and they're talking about,
of course,
just they're talking about how great they are, and this, that, or the other, but. What they continue to say over and over again is that they're so baffled by how they get these players, how they buy into the system. I mean, it's freshmen. It seems to have nobody has bad attitudes. I think it's just because Nick Saban has crazy expectations and he doesn't play around. And if you mess up, you are penalized in whatever control he's able to have over players, which I think is quite a lot.
Yeah, he can claim their souls.
I'm not gonna say it. That was you, but
he legally
I would agree.
Everyone that comes to Tuscaloosa, so that he can call them all his gifted sons.
Or he has a network of little spies all over campus who just frame kids for terrible things and puts them in prison for 18 years. I don't know.
All
a theory.
I'm saying is it's recorded fact that Nick Saban is just the anglicized spelling of the name for ancient sorcerer Shang Tsung, who could steal souls. and shapeshift.
That's what it is. Oh my goodness.
That's absolutely what it is. There is
Confirmed.
no doubt.
Breaking
Confirmed.
news. Kind of touching on the whole buying in thing, like the culture thing. I was talking to a guy who apparently is good friends with somebody in the program, and he was explaining how when a freshman come on campus and they come into the field house for the first time, there's this long hallway with framed SI covers that mention Alabama. Every SI cover that has ever mentioned Alabama ever is framed down this hallway. So a pretty long hallway because everybody loves Alabama. And then at the end of the hallway, there's this like foyer area that has busts or plaques or something like that of every Alabama football player that has gone on to play pro. So you're literally walking down this hallway of expectation into a full year of legends. And the expectation is we expect you here at some point. So if you're not down with that, get the hell out of here.
It really is unreal, like the expectation, and it makes you wonder how much fans can actually enjoy games when it's like, if we ever lose, it is the end of the world. I think Chandler has even mentioned that to me, being, living in Tuscaloosa. He's mentioned before that a lot of times game day is just too stressful of a thing to enjoy for most Alabama fans.
Yeah, because they treat losses like a death in the family, apparently.
Yeah. Well, because it is in college football. I mean, you lose and unless you're Alabama, your season's over.
Yep.
In which, if you're Alabama, you can pretty much lose as much as you want and you'll still make the playoffs.
If you lose a game, your season's just begun.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes this team so impressive, is that they have not looked like a team that will lose a game.
Yeah.
Not that they've looked that way in a while, but this is a team where it looks like you look at them, you're just like, oh yeah, they're just not going to lose a game.
Well, I mean, how could you though? How could you lose a game? How could you lose a game? Huh? You know what's coming out of my mouth next. You all know it. You're all nodding your head, smiling. Yeah. How could you not know it? Because when you pay the refs and you have the refs on your side, things typically go a little bit easier for your squad. I don't know why. It's just they haven't done a lot of studies on this yet because it's kind of outlawed. But if we did a long study, good data, we would probably see that if you pay the refs to get, or if you're in league or alliance with maybe the commissioner or the entire, SEC, maybe, just a maybe, you might get some calls going your way. Just a theory.
Was it Chandler that said that if you beat Alabama, then your punishment is a 6-year NCAA investigation?
He's not wrong.
It sounds like something he'd say. Yes.
But
also, if you cheat tremendously and you're not a dominant program, your punishment is a 6-year-long investigation. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that part as well. But that's the thing about all of this, is that, I mean, yes, Ole Miss got in trouble for cheating, which shows you, if nothing else, it shows you that programs will cheat to succeed. I mean, is there really any shock there? When a program is investigating it, it doesn't matter who it is. Like, we know, okay, sure, yeah, like if winning and losing can affect people's jobs, can affect, all of that, then yes, people are going to cheat all over the place. In that Ole Miss investigation, I mean, heck, you even had, public statements from Leo Lewis being investigated, talking about all the schools, including the school he attended, where he received money from people associated with the school in order to be affected in his recruiting decision, So it's all over the place. We know that much. And another thing we know is that, I mean, referees are humans, and there's probably a lot of referees that have no problem being affected by people in powerful positions who tell them to do something. This is why in the world do we trick ourselves into believing that sports are unbiased because it's a field of competition? It's not. It's a field of competition that is controlled by and dominated by and super controlled by people. Because like this is what always I realized this, or I thought about this the other day, and it just blows my mind. But like our answer to any sort of issue in sports is not to like come up with a way to make it more balanced. No, our issue with anything in sports is to add more rules and define more rules more specifically, to the point in which like we don't even know what a catch is in football anymore, because it could be anything, you know?
Right.
It's all, I mean, it's still a world dominated by people who screw up or who can be influenced to, fall one way or another. I mean, I don't know. How deep down the rabbit hole can we possibly get with this? That's what I'm.
All right. I'll take a stab. I'll take a stab.
Rose down there shooting a flare gun.
Let me bring you down. Let me bring you down to the cave, fellas. Let's go down to the center of the earth, if you will, right where it's nice and warm, where some lizard people like to live. I'm just saying, I want to see some DNA tests done on Nick Saban and maybe former SEC Commissioner Mike Slide, because that's really where it started with that guy. Don't kid yourself here.
Mm-hmm.
The TV contracts were signed during his tenure. That was his big thing or whatever. That enabled him to get a lot of money, and a lot of money will get you a lot of power. And I have seen abuse. I have video evidence of abuse on a grandiose level. I've seen Mike making deal with aliens. Some things I'm not at liberty to say because I have special security clearance that I have to get clarified first. Kind of like what Tom DeLonge had to do that one time.
Our personal hero, Tom DeLonge.
I'm just saying, honest to God, right? It's something has that has followed Alabama, at least this year, throughout this season or whatever, is like this strange narrative, quote, air quotes through the microphone right now, that SEC collusion is involved with the Crimson Tides to the ascension of a record level setting dominance or whatever. And like last weekend or yesterday or whatever, everybody on social media didn't use to say, oh no, that's wrong on those calls. They were like, oh yeah, no, we all get it. Everybody gets it. Like I'm looking at an article here from 24/7 Sports where there's a video of the ridiculous call for blocking the back to negate that touchdown that we scored. The most
so bad,
the worst possible call, and it's right there in front of you. In any kind of rational sense of justice, just a smidge would be like, oh, let's go to the monitor, make sure that we're calling this right,
wave it off or something.
Yeah,
right. But penalties aren't reviewable except for targeting. And that play right there, that call, makes me want to throw out any sort of reservation that I've ever had about making all penalties reviewable, because that is a not even potentially, that is a game altering call.
Yeah,
dude, it was so comparable to the catch that was dropped in the Florida game right before halftime. Like it was that level of just, I mean, it shifted the entire momentum yet again, nullified any possible minute heading into halftime, trailing by 2 touchdowns. That would have given us 14-7. And then that turns into a different game, in my opinion. But we don't even get to see that because of an atrocious, totally ridiculous call.
Yeah, and what gets me about that is that the Alabama player wasn't even trying to sell anything. The Alabama player dove to try to make a tackle.
Right.
He wasn't flopping or anything. Not even he was trying to pretend that he was touched.
When you watch it real time live from the broadcast angle, it kind of looks like he ran into his back. But then when you look at the other angle, it is clear, even without 4K or even HD. But like old school tube TV technology, you can see that the guy never even touched him. Didn't come close. Didn't accidentally bump, didn't touch his jersey. There was molecules of air.
And then, wait a minute. And then at the end of the game, there's a skirmish or something like that happens. That's like an Alabama, I don't know who he is, I guess assistant coach of some kind, is screaming, at Mississippi State's players, and he's cussing, he's making up a big storm. And then old Lizard Man himself, old L. Ron Hubbard, old Warren Jeffs he's standing up there on the podium saying that he's upset about the undercuts or the low tackles or whatever, the dirty plays that state players have. Like, give me a break. Like, I'm trying not to cuss right now because I don't want to get DMX'd out of this podcast right now, which I know that I will if I let it go, because it makes me so upset. I just think it's so egregious when the score, as Joseph rightfully put it at the very beginning, should have been 17-14. Absolutely.
Like somehow maybe even more egregious because of like what happened was the fumble. Excuse me, on record, it was a down by contact. But like when you look at it, even Gary Danielson, one of the biggest Alabama homers on the face of this planet, says, yeah, it looks like it could be down. Definitely worthy of a review. It was super weird that Joe Moore had never received counsel from his replay coach.
He did. The replay coach said, I think he's down. Don't worry about it.
Okay, cool. So he should be fired. But the replay booth never even buzzed him down. Like, everyone was just kind of like, okay, yeah, sure, he's down. Let's all move on. Like, this wasn't an actual thing.
Right. In a day and age in which like every play is reviewed to the point of like stupidity of, oh my gosh, why are we looking at this play again? Like frame by frame. Like, you can stop it. See, the ball, like it's not even one of those situations where it's like, is it moving before his knees down? Like, they freeze it at the moment that the ball is out of his hands, and his knee's like 6 inches off the ground. Like, it is clear that it's a fumble, and like nobody could be bothered with it at all. Ever. Yeah, not even bothered to review. That's the thing about it. Like, it doesn't matter if they make the wrong call. Right. The fact that they don't even bother signaling for a review saying, hey, on a controversial play. 2 minutes to look at this again. Right. And so I say that might be more egregious than the block in the back call, because the weirdness of it, like you said, every play is scrutinized inch by inch, frame by frame. So we've got this, and nobody cared. It was weird to me. Yeah, I still think the block in the back is more egregious on account of the fact that it was super obvious. Well, and because it helped Alabama cover the spread. Yeah. True. And which makes you wonder more and more about like betting implications. I mean, let's not forget that we're not terribly far removed from the NBA having a massive officials betting on games epidemic. Tim Donaghy in charge of that. I still remember his name on account of the show 30 Rock. But but I mean, and that's the thing. Like, we were joking around at lunch with my family today, and we talked about how my mom remembers when she was much younger, her father, she grew up in South Mississippi. Her father and her siblings went to Tuscaloosa when Southern Miss was playing Alabama one year, because they used to play pretty frequently. And there was a moment in the game, and she remembers it from back then, where a flag was thrown for a false start, I believe. I believe it was one of those like plays that you don't like, it happens and you see it, and you just go with it. It wasn't like it was not a complicated foul. Right. Also, back then, I feel like fouls were much more straightforward because there were like 3 of them, I feel like, in like the 70s and 80s. Like, you pretty much had 1 or 2 fouls. Anyway, so all that to say, a flag was thrown, and the official is standing there with the flag. Bear Bryant comes walks out to the middle of the field talks to the official for a moment, walks back, the official waves off the flag.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And,
I've heard
Yeah,
that
she's
story
she's
before.
like, yeah, I remember that distinctly from when I was younger. That sort of thing happened. He had that sort of power because, and I mean, it doesn't even necessarily mean there's corruption going on. It just means there's some people that even officials are awed by and wowed by and are influenced by. And there have been scientific studies that have talked about the quote unquote home field or home court advantage, how, like, scientifically speaking, it affects officials much more than it affects any sort of players. And that calls significant amounts of the time are influenced and affected by where, like, the game is being played.
But also Bear Bryant, it was public knowledge that Bear Bryant had a hit squad.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Why not? Sure. I'm in. But you know what I mean? Like that, like, it doesn't even have to be anything like that. At the very least, like, yeah, officials are human and they can be easily influenced by the situation. And that could be exactly what happened in this whole block in the back thing. I don't know. It's when you get outside of the actual game that you start to have more things that raise eyebrows a bit, I feel like, a lot of times. But, you know, if I can continue completely editorializing here, which is like the epitome of what I don't like to do as a guy that watches sports. Well, and a lot of that is because of what I'm about to talk about. And a lot of the reason why I stopped really caring about having opinions about sports so much as just kind of seeing what happens. And SB Nation staffer John Boyce worded it well. He's like, I just don't like having opinions. I'd rather just take sports how they come and then just see what happens. Was, of course, the situation with Cam Newton at Auburn years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And that was honestly when my genuine interest in the sport of college football completely died. And like the only reason I really watch as much as I do right now is because, I mean, you guys want to do a podcast. So I'm like, okay, sure, let's do it. Quite honestly, I would not be wasting my time on a Saturday watching a bunch of SEC games otherwise, if not for research. And that, you know, and that's what there's this whole situation in which there's this, I mean, when a player's father openly admits to asking a school for money, and the official NCAA,
Right.
the official NCAA investigation lasts 24 hours. Like, that's an obvious play on money and profitability.
Yeah, but Joseph, his father was a pastor, so it was also non-taxable. So it was a donation that he was asking for his church. It was done nothing. It was all innocent. It was innocent. So innocent.
Man,
look away. Nothing to see here, Joseph.
Not even his dad worded it like that, you know?
Oh, God, dude.
And yeah, I've been to Noonan, Georgia. I thought about trying to find the church and like egg the sign or something. But
I'm with you though, man, because it's so embittering. Like it's such a bad taste in your mouth watching it, knowing that like all this shady stuff is happening, and like pretty much he who hath the most money winneth.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's in the Bible,
right? And I mean, and that's I mean, for example, that's why Ole Miss was an easy target.
Yep.
Because they weren't necessarily making millions and millions and millions for the SEC or for the NCAA.
They also lost a very key contributor as well in Dickie Scruggs, who had to go to prison for an exorbitant number of years during this Hugh Freeze era. Dickie Scruggs was a huge donor. If you don't know who Dickie Scruggs is, those who are listening, he is a recipient of $1 bajillion from the tobacco companies back in the early 90s. And he ruled Ole Miss football with an iron fist. And he did, but then he got caught for bribing judges because he made only one bad decision ever. He never did that ever before.
Of course not.
But I mean, he got caught and he went to jail.
And the whole reason, like the reason I mention all of that with Cam Newton is because since then I haven't watched a national championship game. I have no desire to. I watch what interests me, and I watch stuff in order to see what's going on. And like I'm saying, like for the podcast, analyze, you know, to take it. There's a benefit from it. It helps me to not like put so much personal investment and identity in college football, but it also, I mean, it killed any sort of personal investment that I had in college football. So yeah, it's still fun to watch stuff, but I mean, a lot of that's because I looked at it and said, okay, like if it's that obvious that it is simply a multi-million-dollar, industry that benefits from free labor, yeah, I'll go there. Benefits from free labor, makes a bunch of money off of unpaid players, but they get a scholarship. Okay, I got a scholarship. I didn't even have to play football to get a scholarship. It's not that hard to get scholarships these days, guys. Is in that, all that to be said, like, I mean, if it's just a money game, and it always will be, then yeah, I got no problem, thinking, hey, maybe successful teams really do cheat a whole lot. Why not? If they're making money for people, why wouldn't they get away with it? It doesn't have to necessarily be in sports, it can be anywhere. If you're good at something, if you're successful at something, you can get away with anything. Let's just be honest with it. You look at politics, anything at all. You're good at something.
As Mark Emmert, the NCAA president, says, but Joseph, they're amateur athletes. They're amateur athletes, Joseph, and amateur athletes can have success too without being paid because there's a pureness to it. There's a pureness. No one is making money off of these children. I hate that guy so much. That's his stance. That's what he says. He says crap like that.
He was voted to get a massive raise this year.
Yeah, it's so, it makes me so mad. I think they're all a part of that Illuminati owl worshiping statue, big wicker man thing out in the woods.
Wicker man, yes.
I don't know what it is, but I know that
Wiccans.
I watched a video about it a long time ago on YouTube, and it convinced me that it exists. So it's out there. They're a part of the secret societies. I don't know. It's the only explanation for things, truly, because this is all maddening to me. It's just so maddening.
It's dumb. I mean, if the federal government decides it's worth investigating an entire sport in college basketball, then we can't honestly believe there's not bias, corruption, and stuff worth investigating in college football. Yeah. Let's not pretend that it's not.
Mind you, because of that ruling, what you're referring to, mind you, that judges now can interpret players, amateur athletes receiving improper benefits on any kind as defrauding the federal government.
Yeah.
Not just the university, because they said that the universities represent that they're publicly funded by taxpayer money. And so they, in some capacity, represent the federal government, and you are defrauding the federal government by taking impermissible benefits. And so not only do you lose your scholarship, but now you have a felony on your record. That's unbelievable. They could do that if they wanted to make an example of someone, but they've never done that before. And we know that the government doesn't like to make examples of people by using bogus laws, like, to catch people like Al Capone. I don't know. It's never happened before, except for maybe that one time.
A fine, upstanding citizen and University of Alabama donor.
Just misunderstood. That's
Free Capone.
Free Capone. That's it. This entire podcast. We want Al Capone exonerated.
Absolutely. Free of all charges. He knew nothing.
Yep. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry if you're listening to this and you now think that we're lunatics. That's fine. We are.
We are. It's because I blame the madness on what I watch every Saturday. I see it every Saturday. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I just don't want to, I just don't want us to pretend and run a podcast pretending, which we don't, but I don't want us to pretend that, things are unbiased and people are, everyone is coming into the entirety of this sport that encompasses hundreds of thousands of players, coaches, school administrators, and officials, NCAA officials, and expect that all of them come in with the purest of intentions.
Yeah.
because we can't be that naive. This is it's a broken sport. It's a broken system. That's why I get so much more enjoyment out of, watching the NFL. Chandler and I have talked about this a lot, but Chandler worded it the best, so I quote him a lot on it. But at least the NFL doesn't pretend that it's not a huge business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Well, but that's because the NCAA is technically supposed to be an amateur organization, but they don't really even try to hide it either. They just say they don't,
Yep. Well, and let's not forget, the NCAA was founded in 1906 to protect young people from the dangerous and exploitative athletics practices of the time. That is the official NCAA part of their charter.
Might have been true at one time.
Yeah, so they were founded in 1906 to prevent people from exploiting athletes. All right. And since then, they have become the organization that exploits athletes. So basically, they established themselves as an organization to prevent people from taking advantage of amateur athletes, which is great. Good for them. They were protecting them. And somewhere along the lines, they decided they got so focused on the power that they have that they have exploited the amateur athletes and get really mad when other people do.
Read that definition to me one more time. Just one more time.
All right. This is, I think this is on their official website. This is an older article that quotes this. Let me see if I can get the link to the actual NCAA website. Nah, they've taken that part of the website down since then. Quote, the NCAA was founded in 1906 to protect young people from the dangerous and exploitive athletics practices of the time.
That's the same definition for why the mafia started. All right. That's the exact same thing. Just insert it. Yeah. I'm telling you, because they're run. They are organized. They're organized like a mafioso family. It's absolutely unbelievable to me that nobody else doesn't make this comparison.
Well, what's funny is that, and again, I don't question that the intentions were pure when it was first formed. But like you said, somewhere on the way, somebody looked at that and said, we have a monopoly over all college students.
Yep.
So let's make a little bit of money while we're at it.
No, yeah. I don't even think I'm going even back to its formation. I don't even think it was funded on innocent principles or the things of the time. It was probably some dude like Daniel Day-Lewis' character off There Will Be Blood who was in charge.
Yeah.
It was, I abandoned my son.
Yeah. He walked up. Well, here's the thing. Okay, so in 1905, 18 college and amateur players died during football games. And so football was on the verge of being abolished as a sport and made illegal. And Teddy Roosevelt gathered 13 football representatives at the White House to agree on reforms to improve safety. At some point in there, undoubtedly, somebody stood up in the meeting and said, "I drink your milkshake. I drink it up." But undoubtedly, it happened.
Undoubtedly.
But okay, so if we take it on like the base, what they say that they started as, okay, great. It started to make, to protect players better, to, make it safer as well, and to stop players, from being exploited by people that were trying to, influence games, all that sort of stuff. Sure. So even if you take it at the most basic of things, at some point in time, they became an organization that will willingly sell the rights to like player likenesses to EA Sports to make college athletics games, and decide that the players themselves obviously cannot be in there. At some point in time, it switched from protecting players to protecting amateurism, and that's it.
Yeah,
not about the players, but about whether or not the players are still amateurs. That is like the go-to. The like direct focus of the NCAA at this point in time. The NCAA doesn't even like give out their own football championship.
No.
Like they don't regulate that. It's independent organizations for like all history. Polls for the longest time. The BCS was an independent organization, the playoff now has like a committee made up of like athletic directors and other people, but even then, it's not the NCAA. Why do we have the NCAA?
I don't know.
And this,
why do we have the
protect
mob?
integrity of the game?
Why do we have the mob? Why do we have the mafia? You know, why does that exist?
Protect the integrity of local businesses.
Because there are those of us who take advantage of it. And
Yeah.
and what's funny about that statement is that the people who take advantage of it are the ones that enforce it. That's what's ridiculous of it, thus creating this crazy environment where people do stuff they normally wouldn't do in both in a real life setting in crime and in what the NCAA do, which I think is a crime. I think the NCAA is just a criminal organization.
A tale as old as time.
tale as old as time.
Beauty and the Beast.
I'm probably someone. Watch. I'm gonna get a letter in the mail from the NCAA. Some lawyer listening to this podcast, you know, silencing me, putting
You
a
just call
tax lien on my house or something. You know, watch. You watch.
Just call back.
Nice knowing you guys. Nice knowing you.
Rest in peace, Rose Voice.
Yep. He's done. He's silenced.
So this is going to be live from the Lizard Man City, right?
I'm still thinking live from the Kama Sutra, but I'll be open to other.
Well, live from page 9 of the Kama Sutra.
Is that the page the Alabama special's on? I've been looking for it. I couldn't find it.
Right there in front, man.
What do you know? Yeah, no, the older I get, the more I'm totally into conspiracies about power struggles. Like, I'm not going full Tom DeLonge when it comes to aliens and whatnot. I'm not ready to follow him. But
did you guys see that thing that came close to our sun and then like picked up speed and like it was like a long, like Harvard did a study on it.
The UFO.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Tom DeLonge's ego.
Tom DeLonge's ego.
Tom DeLonge's mothership come to claim him.
Yeah. I want to get Tom DeLonge on this podcast. What do we have to do to make that happen? Is he on Twitter? I'm going to look at
yeah, he might be.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and do a search for alien.
I know where he's not. He's not in the Blink-182 band right now. They're talking about doing a full original band get together next year. That's what the rumor was.
They've been talking about that for a while.
I would so go to a concert if that happens. I think that would be fun. Because
Tom DeLonge's on Twitter. Tom DeLonge's on Twitter, and Tom DeLonge on Twitter is currently advertising a children's book that he wrote called "Who Here Knows Who Took My Clothes."
What?
Yeah, and I'm super interested in this.
I would recommend all parents listening to this podcast to not allow your children to read that book.
No, I'm gonna get it for my nephew for Christmas.
That is a strange title. I bet it has to do about aliens, though. That's
At the end of the day, it has to.
Yeah,
it has to. So everyone follow Tom DeLonge on Twitter. That is at TOMDELONG.
Hey, Mom, there's something in my bedroom.
And
that guy was so weird.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and follow. I'm gonna go ahead and start tweeting at him and say, "Hey, man, do you want to be on our sports podcast?" So,
absolutely, please do.
Anyway,
celebrity pick'ems.
Celebrity pick'ems. Tom DeLonge going to be our first one. Okay, all right. Let's do pick'em. Let's just move along. We can get away with a lot of this conversation because there's just not a whole lot that's interesting in the
right,
conference.
Because this week, literally the only interesting game is what, like Vandy Ole Miss.
Vandy Ole Miss, Missouri, Tennessee, Arkansas, MSU. Those are the three conference games. Outside of that, it's all non-conference warm-ups before the end of the season. But yeah, I could keep going on and on and on about this stupid discussion, but I mean, whatever. All right, let's do some picks here. Chandler has sent in our picks, so we will add his in, or we'll mention his on the show as we go. Several of these, as mentioned, are games between FBS and FCS programs, or FBS and very small FBS programs. So there's not a lot of spreads set up as of the time that we're recording on Sunday evening. That might be changed at some point during the week, but as for now, that's just where it sits. So let's start off with a game that does not have a spread and probably will not surprise anyone in terms of our picks, but the Citadel goes to Tuscaloosa. Everyone here picking Alabama? That was the perfect opportunity for Robo Keith.
That was amazing.
That was the best moment for Robo Keith to show up because all that we heard was just sounded like a bad Gucci Mane song. Actually,
Man.
it sounded like any Gucci Mane song.
Or the best Gucci Man song.
There is no such thing. There's my hot take. All right, let's keep going.
Of course, picking Alabama. If anybody picks Citadel, I hate you.
Right. It's just dumb. We're going to knock out the games that seem to not have a spread right now. One of them being the Idaho Vandals having to travel to Gainesville, Florida. Man, that is quite a trip.
That is.
Sure is.
My gosh.
So no spread on this one. Keith, you think the Gators get it?
God, I hope so.
Ro, you got any dissension there?
Chomp, chomp. Vandals.
Chomp, chomp.
No,
Vandals,
don't
chomp,
want no
chomp.
Vandals around no Gators.
I wonder if no, Idaho is not good. They are 10th place in the Big Sky Conference.
Good.
Big Sky Conference.
Yep.
They're making
dude,
up
they're-
conferences now, aren't they?
Bruh, don't diss the Big Sky. Are you kidding me right now?
All right,
Who's in the Big Sky?
we got a conference.
Keith has been muted for disrespecting the Big Sky. He's been unbelievable. Yeah, Idaho has lost to the following teams: UNLV, Western Michigan, UL Lafayette, Appalachian State, Missouri by the score of 68-21, Troy, Coastal Carolina, New Mexico State, Fresno State, UC Davis. What in the world? How many games have they played?
I'm about to say, are you going back to like 2 seasons ago?
I had to have. Okay, all right. Okay, woo, yes. For some reason, I pulled up their schedule, and it pulled up last season as well. So
These
this
are all the
season,
teams they've lost to ever.
yeah. Why would it do that? I looked at the list, and then I was like, what in the world? Okay.
You just reeled off like 20 teams.
All right, this season, they have lost to the likes of Fresno State by the score of 79-13. UC Davis 44-21. Idaho State beat them 62-28.
Wow.
So they lost their own in-state rivalry. They lost by 1 point to Montana State.
Yeah,
lost-
Montana State. I knew they were in that conference.
Yeah, they lost to Eastern Washington, and they have lost to Montana. So they're just getting beat up by the state of Montana. Now they have to play Florida. There you go. There's the Vandals for you. 10th place in the Big Sky. Sorry to waste our time with that. Everyone picking the Gators here in this matchup.
Big Sky.
Another one that does not have a spread right now is South Carolina versus Chattanooga. Chandler's picking South Carolina. Keith, do you agree?
Yeah.
Keith, does anyone know off the top of their heads? Top of their heads? Is that what people say? Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, that's right.
it sounded wrong to me. What Chattanooga's mascot is?
The Choo Choos.
They do have a choo-choo here, but that is not their mascot.
The
The Chattanooga Cabooses.
Chattanooga.
You're not going to
Mortal
guess
Engines.
it because I have no idea what it is. They're the Mocs, MOCS.
Moccasins. No?
Is this UT Chattanooga?
This is this is Chattanooga. This is like the school Chattanooga.
Straight up Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Straight up Chattanooga. I don't know what that is either. Let me look it up real quick.
Okay, I guess it is UT Chattanooga. I don't know. This is
What is
confusing. They've dropped the UT part. Yeah. Okay. All right. So never mind. This is just Chattanooga. Okay, you're right. UT Chattanooga is Chattanooga. I apologize for leading us astray. This is not anyone else. Yeah. So they're the Mocs. What in the world? The school's athletic teams are called the Mocs. The teams were named Moccasins. You got it, Keith. Until 1996.
Oh, Rose said that. Thank you.
Yeah, Rose.
Oh, Ro, my bad.
Yeah.
I said cabooses.
Oh, I know. Huh. Does anyone know who probably the most notable UT Chattanooga alum is?
Oh, hold on.
Terrell
Was it Megatron?
T.O.
No, Megatron was Georgia Tech, but that's a really good guess.
T.O.
It was. Yeah.
That's it.
It was, yeah. It
Yeah.
was I knew it was some sort of like.
That's where he had
godly gifted wide receiver.
He had his induction to the Hall of Fame there. He did. He was the only person ever in the history
Right.
of all of the NFL Hall of Fame
God bless
to
you.
not go to the Hall of Fame to do his acceptance speech.
Terrell Owens is
Love it.
wonderful.
Another one of their most notable former athletes is a man named Robert Alexander Johnson, but who went by Spider. His
Yes.
name was Spider Johnson. And he and I shared a birthday, March 7th. How nice.
He hate me.
He hate me. He was a 6'4", 210-pound offensive lineman. God
Wow.
bless the early 1900s.
Man, that's
210 pounds.
a small dude.
Man, that guy could really move the ball, couldn't he?
He was me as an offensive lineman. I could have been a great offensive lineman if I had played 100 years ago.
Yeah. Prior to
You call
World
it-
War One.
We'd be talking about Spider Craven right now.
Spider Craven.
What an app nickname. All right, you're no longer the jackhammer in my phone.
I'm now Spider Craven. All right, that's fair.
Craven.
That's fair.
I'm just kidding.
I will
I'm
miss
never
being the
changing.
jackhammer, man.
Yeah, no. I'm never changing the jackhammer ever.
Yep. UT Chattanooga, I do not believe had a football team last season. I think that they were down a division or something like that. But so far on the year,
They get promoted, man.
yeah, good for them. They are in FCS right now. So this is a South Carolina versus FCS Chattanooga. They are
The old
sixth in their
Southern
conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old Southern Conference. How nice. All right, so everyone, we picking South Carolina, or anyone picking the upset?
I'm going. Yep. Cock-a-doodle-doo, sir.
Yeah. No reason to believe otherwise. The final game that doesn't seem to have a spread right now is Texas A&M and UAB. That's interesting. I wonder why that one doesn't have a spread.
Oh,
They're like an
Was that-
injury they're waiting on to set that line or something. I don't know.
maybe. I don't know. It's not on the list.
Odd stuff. UAB, of course, did not exist until recently, and since then they have been. I say didn't exist. They disappeared for a little bit. They were forced to not exist for a little bit. Since then, they've done all right, man. I mean, what have they won?
I mean, they were ranked in their own right or whatever.
I
Up
like
until like last week. They're 9-1.
They're 9-1. Yeah, their only loss being to the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina. They defeated Southern Miss in overtime this past week.
Look at that. Shark
Yeah.
Harvey's angry.
I'm angry about it.
Go Blazers.
Yeah, look at the Blazers go.
The Chanticleers did the thing.
They did the thing. So back in the Conference USA, I guess they got to be leading their division in the CUSA. Have to be.
Gotta be.
Got to
If they're
be.
9-1, yeah, first in
First in the
US,
CUSA West.
CUSA West.
Good for them. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe that's why they're looking at it. But Texas A&M going up against a leading team in the Conference USA. What are their
Chanticleers.
thoughts? Chandler's definitely going Texas A&M here. Keith, what about you?
Gosh, it would be a beautiful thing to get an upset here. I don't think it's going to happen, but oh man,
Yeah.
I would have never pulled so hard to be wrong ever. If
Ro?
that sentence even makes sense.
No, I followed it. Ro, you going with the Aggies as well?
This is where the men are separated from the boys. Give me the Blazers.
Oh! For the rubber meets the road.
Upset City, baby.
Ooh, yeah. Boots already.
Yep. Love it. I love it. UAB is number 25 in the coaches poll right now. They are.
Look at them.
They got swag with them right now.
Yep.
Look out. Look
They're
out.
25 in the coaches poll. They are they're receiving votes in the AP poll. They received more top 25 votes than Texas A&M did. This is this one's hard. You know what? I'm going to go with you on this one, Ro. I'm going to go UAB. I'm going to say UAB does the thing and shocks the Aggies here. I'm going to go with it because, hey, I'm all about any team in green and gold called the Blazers. It's just how,
Blazers.
That's how I was raised. Let's do it. Why not? UAB. I'm very curious to what the spread will actually be for this game if there's not one right now. Very, very curious. All right, let's knock
Vegas. Vegas is scared.
Vegas scared of the Blazers. They just are.
They're trembling.
Middle Tennessee State goes to prestigious Kroger Field to face Kentucky. Keith, what's the spread?
It will never not be funny. Kentucky. Kentucky's a 14-point favorite.
All right, and well, I guess I got to go back to you on this one, Keith. Chandler's picking the Wildcats. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. Give me the Cats.
Ro, how about you?
Yeah, man. Benny Snell all day. Yeah.
Benny Snell, who has not eclipsed 100 yards in what seems like a month now.
He going to get 200 in this game against Middle Tennessee State.
It's been a while. MTSU on the season, if we just talked about the first place team in the CUSA West, Middle Tennessee is the first place team in the CUSA East. The difference here is that they are not as impressive as UAB.
Oh, man. Also, their SEC schedule so far has been against Vandy and Georgia, losing big time to both.
Yeah. So this is technically against my own personal rule, but there's just no way I can actually pick against Kentucky here. Kentucky. Yeah, I got to go with the Wildcats. But you know what? If they collapse and MTSU pulls it off somehow, I will not be – well, no, I still will be shocked. The MTSU is not looking very good. So, anyway, there's that. All right, what other non-conference games we got? We got UMass at Georgia. Good Lord, Keith, the spread.
Georgia's a 43.5-point favorite.
Oh, my God.
I don't even understand.
Look for Georgia to cover.
I don't understand numbers.
How do you do that?
It gets better later, fast. It gets better.
Oh, my gosh. How do you even do that? Oh, man.
Yeah.
What's UMass looking like this year? Hey, they're ranked first in independence. Thank you, Google, for throwing that in there. That's super useful.
Like the
Hell yeah, America.
the league, or is that like
It's just overall. They
Is
are
it
number one
history?
in freedom.
number one in declaring Tea Party's terrible?
Yep. Nope, they are number one. If you look at the it's actually a very impressive sixth-place tie between FBS independents for who's number one, between Army, UMass, BYU, Notre Dame, New Mexico State, and Liberty. First-place tie. None of them have a conference win. None of them have a conference loss. Crazy stuff.
UMass is 4-7.
Whew. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like this is Georgia across the board. But does anyone
The
think that
quarterback
Georgia,
is throwing for an impressive 1,500 yards so far this season.
does anyone think that Georgia will cover the spread?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Why not? Why
Georgia
not?
covers the hell out of the spread.
yeah, absolutely they do.
I think Georgia willingly runs the ball the entire fourth quarter or the entire second half.
Oh.
I mean, it just drains
Hey,
the clock as much as possible.
I want you to reach deep down into your hearts and guess what Jake Fromm's completion versus attempts were this year or this week.
Oh gosh, was it 14 or 20?
So close. 13 of 20. I feel like Kirby Smart tracks his passes, and as soon as he gets 20, he shuts it down. He doesn't
Like,
care what's happening.
That's incredible. Good on him. Good on him for that.
So
That's
weird.
incredible. All right, what else do we have? Oh, Liberty at Auburn. Liberty is in their first season in FBS under Coach I forgot the man's name. He coached at Buffalo and then at Kansas. It'll come to me in a minute. But Keith, what's the spread?
Auburn is a 28.5 point favorite.
There we go. Turner Gill is the coach's name. That's who I was trying to remember. Turner Gill. So Auburn, almost 30-point favorites here. Chandler picking Auburn. Anyone not picking Auburn here?
Yeah, Auburn wins.
Yeah, Auburn totally.
All right. And is that it for non-conference? No. Rice at LSU. There you go.
Well,
What's the spread, Keith?
LSU is a 44-point favorite.
Ooh. Like, how bad do you have to be as a team that LSU is expected to score 44 more points than you?
Or just 44 points, period.
Right. I don't think LSU covers this one. Rice is 7th. This is SEC versus Conference USA week. That's what this is.
I would love to have an official SEC versus insert conference week. Just period. Like,
Why not?
that would be wonderful. I feel like every conference should have that, like once a year. Just cross division games all across the board. Make it happen.
I'm still all about the idea of a relegation system where you actually only have 5 super conferences with a limited amount of teams, and then they get like the CUSA could be the SEC's feeder. Conference.
That would.
Why is that so logical of a choice?
Make
And we all know
football
that,
great
but they
again.
don't do it.
Because they're afraid of losing money.
Ah!
Money. Rice is 7th place in the CUSA West. Not doing too hot. How's everyone picking in this game between LSU?
LSU.
Rice covers.
Why not? All right. Thank God we can get into some of the 3 semi-interesting games.
Thank God.
We're going to go in order of the spread prediction. The first is Arkansas going to Starkville for a matchup against the Mississippi State Bulldogs. The spread, Keith?
State is 19.5 point favorite.
Yeah, I was about to say it's got to be around 20.
Yep. So almost 20 here. Chandler's picking the Bulldogs. Keith, do you see any reason to not pick them as well?
I'm going Dogs.
Bro, how about you?
Give me the Dogs.
Arkansas just has such a bad defense.
Yeah. Arkansas's defense is comparable
Even
to
their
like
offense. Yeah.
it's comparable to like the non-conference defenses that MSU has faced, and those have been the defenses that MSU's offense has been able
Just
to
torched. Yeah.
So see that. That being said, I mean, I feel like Arkansas has made some improvement in the past.
Yeah. Like it's really weird. Like, they'll have these games where, they'll just randomly jump up and play a good game against LSU or Texas A&M, and then they'll lose the Vandy by almost 20 points.
Yeah. I mean, what is yeah,
Or like North Texas.
Yeah, probably should have beaten Texas A&M, blow it.
Mhm.
Almost beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss holds them off, pitch a shutout against Tulsa. Like, it doesn't matter who you're going up against. You pitch an actual shutout in college football these days. That's something. Give
And,
up 45 points.
Yeah, and let's go back to the very start of the season when they were ahead by Colorado State by like 2 touchdowns
Mm-hmm.
with like 1 quarter left, and then Colorado State torches them. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Wild and random. But all right, so I don't know what to make of Arkansas, and I could see it being. I guess I could see it being less than a 20-point victory, but I don't know. Got to be a Mississippi State victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, Missouri at Tennessee. This is an interesting one of 2 teams maybe finally clicking on all cylinders at the exact same time. This is going to be a very interesting ball game here. What's the spread, Keith?
Yeah, Missouri's a 5.5 point favorite on the road in whatever stadium Tennessee plays in. No one cares.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, it's Neyland Stadium. It's one of the finest and quietest stadiums you can go to.
The
Also,
world's
one of
largest
the
trash
biggest-
can.
So Missouri opens up as a favorite. Chandler has picked Tennessee to win that game. Keith, what do you think? Tigers or Volunteers?
I'm gonna go Tennessee on this one.
Also going with the apparent upset here. Road, you agree?
UT, definitely. I'm definitely going UT.
Wow, they got 2 thinking UT or 3 thinking UT is the way to go. So I'm gonna be the only one to go Mizzou.
Wow.
I'm sticking with the Missouri Tigers here in this one. I don't know. I like what Tennessee did against Kentucky. Tennessee is hitting on all cylinders. I feel like Missouri's kind of hitting on all cylinders too, and we're able to put away a South Carolina or not a South Carolina team.
They wish.
They wish. Who in the world did they play last week? They played Vanderbilt. They were able to put away a Vanderbilt team that was giving them a big fight. And I think they continue their rampage against the state of Tennessee.
They're just marauding through Tennessee right now.
Yep. Speaking of Vanderbilt, Ole Miss travels to Nashville, heads down the Natchez Trace. No, not really. To Vanderbilt Stadium in Nashville this weekend. What's the line, Keith?
Vandy's a massive 2.5-point favorite.
Vandy is the favorite to win this game. And Vandy is also, I'm like, this Vandy Ole Miss matchup.
Oh
and they just always give them fits.
Intriguing. Yeah. High drama.
Wow. So Chandler's got ahead and said that he thinks Vandy will pull it out.
Chandler just hitting the eject button.
God, seriously, Chandler.
Man.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
He's actually picking Vandy? Oh my god.
Yeah, I need to go back over the here we go. I think I just got it. So this particular rivalry, I guess, it's just fascinating to me because this is not a matchup that should be horribly close, you would think.
Ever. Yeah.
Yeah, but these two teams have met 92 times, and Ole Miss leads the series, but it's 51 victories for Ole Miss, 39 for Vanderbilt.
Oh my God.
There is only a 12 game spread between those two teams.
Yeah. So 6 games go the other way, and it's a tied record.
If Vanderbilt wins for 12 years in a row, it's all it will take.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
And Vandy has a habit of jumping up and swatting down Ole Miss at the weirdest times.
It's a strange rivalry.
So it's so weird.
Vanderbilt once won 19 of them in a row.
Oh wow. Okay.
Now, granted, that was at the turn of the century when football was barely even a sport. But from 1894 to 1938, Vanderbilt won every matchup, including a game in 1915 where Vanderbilt won 91-0.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is going to be really fueled by that loss there this weekend.
Wow, that is crazy. So, of course, you go back, 10 years, it is split evenly.
Mm-hmm.
2008, Vanderbilt won. 2009, it was Ole Miss. In 2010 to 2012, Vanderbilt won 3 in a row. Ole Miss won 3 in a row after that, 13-15. Then 2016, Vandy won. 2017, Ole Miss won. So this is just a crazy rival. I just never know what to expect in this stupid game. It's incredible.
Yeah. So this is, maybe both teams here kind of figured that this is the last shot at trying to get bowl eligible. Vandy obviously needs to win the last 2, but
and Vandy can't actually be bowl eligible. And
yeah, that's what I was just about to say.
True. Yeah,
that's true. I was about to say no hope for Ole Miss there, unfortunately.
Yeah,
that's true.
So anyway,
about that.
Chandler's picking Vanderbilt to win it. Keith, how about you? You think Commodores or Rebels?
Man, I just don't know if Vandy can outscore Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, think Keyshawn Vaughn has like a 300-yard day. I'm going to go Vandy.
All right.
Mark it.
There's a Vandy pick there as well. Ro, how about you?
I'm going Vandy. It's simply because I've picked Ole Miss in games like this season, and they don't ever win. So I'm picking Vandy. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, but I'm picking Vandy to beat Ole Miss. It's a statement game for them. This will be their season to beat a team like Ole Miss. That'll be their best win this whole year.
Yeah. Well, as everyone here, as it's well stated, everyone here knows,
Here comes tradition.
I have
Here it comes.
very strict rules about certain teams here, and I never pick Vanderbilt except for this game. This is the only game out of the year in which I pick Vanderbilt, no matter what. It doesn't matter if Ole Miss is an obvious 400-point favorite. By principle, I always pick Vanderbilt because it just seems to happen, and I don't understand why. So I'm also picking Vanderbilt as. I hope that it has been the first time. Yeah, I hope that I know Commodores all the way across. I hope that this is the first time I've picked Vandy. I'm just going to go back through it real quick as Keith gives us the spread.
Robo Keith
gives us the spread. Robo Keith.
Welcome back.
Robo Keith. The last game is oh no, we don't even have Ro, real quick, find a random matchup for us.
Okay.
I forgot to assign that. So anyway, find that as we're predicting Florida State. Boston College ranked the Fighting Steve Adazia is coming up against Florida State in Tallahassee, Florida this weekend. Keith, is there a spread on this one?
There's no spread right now for some reason. I don't know if there's an injury hanging up the spread on this or not, but there's nothing as of right now.
It's very strange. Very, very strange. Well then, Chandler is picking Boston College. Keith, are you going with what's Boston College's Eagles? What, are you going with the Eagles as well?
Oh, yeah. Screech Eagles, baby.
Screech Eagles. All right, Ro, you going Eagles also?
Yeah, Screech.
Yes, of course. Screech. What Screech?
Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I?
I'm going back. I was starting off for a bit because I did find one game so far this year in which I did pick Vanderbilt, but it was their matchup against Tennessee State.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like
Got to go Vandy on that one.
Yeah, I feel like that doesn't really count.
Yeah, that didn't count. In SEC play.
Oh, yeah. And then I had my week 8 confusing pick where I had to choose between picking Vanderbilt or picking second half of the season Kentucky.
Kentucky.
And I picked Vanderbilt.
Which tradition carries?
I know. I picked Vanderbilt there. Obviously not the right choice.
Worlds collide.
Yeah, that one was tricky. But I think that's going to do it as far as my Vanderbilt predictions up till this week. So I lied. There were 2 Vanderbilt predictions, but they were under different circumstances.
Man, yeah.
This is going to have to be yet another Florida State loss, which is, man, rough season for the Criminals.
Willie Taggart having himself a real doozy.
Yeah, I guess that's what you get for trusting Jimbo Fisher. Lesson learned.
You'll learn today. You'll learn today.
All right, Ro, do you have a random matchup picked out for us? So, plenty of time that I've given him.
Oh, yeah, totally. I went to the sure and true game tonight against the New York Giants. Or I'm sorry, game Monday, November 12th, New York versus San Francisco.
Is that in San Fran?
That is at San Fran.
All right.
We have an Eli Odell situation that might happen if they don't win that game, and then you have a San Francisco thing.
Nick Mullins, baby. You got a matchup
Mullins
of the top quarterbacks to ever play at Mississippi universities.
Nicky
Merlarns.
Nicky Merlarns. So yeah, that's the game I have for you. I don't know anything about spreads, and I'm not going to look it up. You got Eli and Odell.
San Francisco is a 3-point favorite tonight, babe.
What?
Or Monday night, whatever it is. Mondays are very confused.
Monday night. Yeah.
Yeah, man. San Fran is the favorite in that one. I don't know if you guys are aware, but in order to do anything with this season, basically the Giants have to win out.
Yeah.
Have to.
Which, by the way, this is exactly what Eli does every year. He sleepwalks for like the first 8 games and then just comes alive.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're going to be able to win out in order to make the playoff.
A lot.
Probably not.
Oh, man. What was that
But-
spread again, Keith?
San Francisco is a 3-point favorite.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Actually, this says 3.5-point favorite, but yeah, basically they're a field goal favorite.
Nice. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say, because I love the NFL and I'm in a pick'em league about the NFL, and I take a knee for every national anthem like the communist I am. But
You just outed yourself, bro.
I did. Now the
Look
NCAA
out.
and everyone in the country had not. I proudly wear Nike shoes while standing for the anthem, just to really throw everyone off. But the 49ers are riding high off of a massive beatdown last week of their Cross Bay rival Oakland Raiders, 34-3. So you going up against a struggling Giants team, man. I got to go 49ers, no question here. Nick Mullins, the legend, Brett Favre, who Austin Davis, who Nick Mullins holds all those records now, boys. Keith, how about you?
In the bottom of the barrel bowl, I'm going to go with the with the Niners also.
All right, Ro.
I am actually going with Eli
Whoa!
and the Odell connection tomorrow night.
Wow.
Simply because I somehow acquired San Francisco's kicker and also their defense. So
they're cursed.
because I picked them, they will lose. And hold me to that mark. Just watch what happens. I won the league last year, and this is truly Midas has lost his touch.
Man, it'd be great if you could lose all the games this year. What a turnaround!
I literally am probably going to, and I had the best week ever, and I'm still going to lose.
What a Detroit Lions season you've had!
Absolutely, I am a Cleveland. That's what I am.
It's so interesting. San Francisco's leading receiver is their tight end.
Yep.
With 700 yards.
Yep. A lot of that being that the tight end and the former San Francisco quarterback, CJ Beathard is what's his name? Beathard. I don't remember how you're supposed to pronounce it. Beathard or something like that. But anyway, Beathard from Beathard. He's from Iowa.
Bethesda Studios.
I believe he's from Iowa, and the tight end, I believe they were college teammates. So when CJ stepped up to take over as the starting position, once Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt in week 1, he just threw it to
Janine Garofalo?
Once comedian Janine Garofalo got hurt in week 1, he just threw it to the tight end as often as possible. Until one day, CJ decided he didn't like holding on to the ball, and he turned it over so much they benched him and brought in Nick Mullins from the practice squad, and he won. He beat the Raiders 34-3.
Yeah, I think he also threw it to Kittle a whole bunch, and he got like 2 touchdowns that game or something. Like, oh, what a game!
Well, I mean, like,
granted, they were playing against a bunch of like knapsacks.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, John Gruden subbed himself into the game. So.
Hey, you guys remember that one time that people thought that like John Gruden was good at coaching, and then like he got fired that one time, and then he got a job at ESPN, and then they thought he was good at coaching again, and then they hired him at Oakland. And they realized, oh god, he sucks. Remember that?
Well, yeah,
I don't know. I think he'll give him a few years, because he clearly has some sort of plan, and I just kind of want to see what happens. It might be his plan is to destroy the game, but he's running them the way that I run all my teams on Madden. He's trading everyone away for draft picks. Everyone away for draft picks.
Yeah, he's gonna, dude. Oakland, soon to be Las Vegas Raiders. They are going to
Yeah.
have
Screw
every
them.
single draft pick for the next 4 years. Every
Yeah.
single one of them.
Screw them.
Good for them. But like, yeah, he doesn't want to be measured by any sort of talent holdover. He wants these wins to be his wins, his guys.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and to be fair to everyone who to be fair to George Kittle, who's catching everything, I mean, part of that is because, do you want to know who the number one receiver on the 49ers is?
Isn't that like Pierre Garçon or something?
Yeah, it's 32-year-old Pierre Garçon.
48-year-old Pierre Garçon.
It's
I wondered what
57-year-old
happened
Pierre
to him.
Garçon.
The ghost of Pierre Garçon.
Yeah, it's the reanimated corpse of what was once Pierre Garçon.
He lives without Al Capone on Alcatraz.
Spooky skeleton, Pierre Garçon.
That's where he is. Al Capone, the Birdman, and all those guys that escaped that one time, and they made a movie about it with Clint Eastwood. I can't remember the name. Escape from Alcatraz. They all live there together
Rock.
as a family.
Nick Cage.
Oh, The Rock. Oh yeah, The Rock.
That's the
Dwayne The Rock
perfect-
Johnson.
God, that is
That's
the
it.
perfect- That's it. That's the episode. Thank you for listening to Running Out the Clock. Stay tuned. Ben Sheldon is next.